Yo, what is good, YouTube? In today's video, I'm giving you guys the updated top 5 meta loadouts to use after the Season 1 Reloaded update. If y'all enjoy the video, give it a like, subscribe, and let's get into it. The first gun we're getting into here today is going to be the AK-74. This got a nice buff. Pretty much all the BO6 guns got a pretty sizable buff, so this one got one as well, making it more effective at longer distance, got a faster bullet velocity. So overall, this is a lot better gun to use as long as you enjoy the recoil here on the gun. It's really honestly not bad, so I think you guys will get some great use out of it. But first attachment's the Kepler red dot, which is a really nice sight to use here on this gun. It's not like, the Willis 2 or 3 times, which is actually a really solid sight to use. My bad. It's the Jason Armor 2X or the Willis 3 times. These are great optics as well. My preference is actually going to be the Kepler red dot here on this gun. Next up, to stabilize out the recoil on this thing, we need to go ahead and use the compensator, because if you don't use the compensator, I mean, you're going to be a little bit SOL when it comes to that recoil, because it will start, bumping around a little bit. So if we can use the compensator to stabilize ourselves out, we can make one of the hardest hitting ARs in the game very, very usable over long distances. Now in our barrel section, we're gonna go ahead and run the reinforced barrel to just help us out with our overall damage range and bullet velocity increase. When you take a look at the detailed statistics here, if it actually wants to work in game, which doesn't seem like it wants to right now, basically it helps increase out your overall damage range, everything like that, to about that 40 to 50-ish meters mark. I think they buffed it out to about from about 47 up to about 55 meters, so they made it even better like that. And your bullet velocity should be about 1,000 to 900 meters a second, which is right where you want to be for an assault rifle. So this thing pretty much only got better from the previous updates. Now in the underbarrel section, to stabilize ourselves out as much as humanly possible, we have the vertical foregrip on here. This helps you do as much as you can to stabilize this thing out at longer distances, along with a compensator. Hugely beneficial attachment that I recommend you guys to run. I don't recommend anything else, because nothing even in the stock section will help with your recoil nearly as much as the compensator and the vertical foregrip. And lastly, in the magazine section, there is basically 2 options you can realistically run and get away with. One being the Extended Mag 2, which is really solid, or Extended Mag 3 if you don't mind being a little bit slower. I personally found Extended Mag 2 to be more than enough, given the AK doesn't have a ridiculously fast fire rate, and also the reload speed is pretty decent on this. So I really enjoy having the extra 10 or technically extra 20 rounds of the mag from stock and getting a pretty decently fast reload. So go for this or Extended Mag 3. I don't really recommend Extended Mag 1. That is not necessarily the way to go. You definitely want to use one of the 2 I suggested, and that's going to be my full AK-74 build. Next up, we're going to be using one of the best SMGs in the game right now, especially after the update. That's going to be the PP919, and our first attachment on this gun is going to be the suppressor. We don't really need to run a compensator on this gun. You could if you really want to, but it really has hardly any recoil. So it's like you might as well take advantage of that and just keep yourselves off the radar. So I'd suggest for you guys to go ahead and run the suppressor here on this gun. And now moving into the barrel section, I want to go ahead and run the long barrel. The reason we're running this is just because the damage range pushes you out to about that 17-ish meters mark, which is realistically farther than every other SMG you're going to be using that's actually good in the game right now. So you have basically the farthest damage range, the farthest fastest TTK damage range out of any SMG by using the long barrel. Now in the magazine section, we're running the fast mag, which does help you out with your ADS speed, sprint to fire speed, and of course your reload quickness. We have 50 rounds in the mag, so basically we lose a little bit from the base magazine size because the PP919 has a massive magazine on it, which is totally okay, and having 50 rounds is perfectly fine. I did not feel the need to go ahead and run the fast mag 2, which is another good option. I just think 40 rounds in the mag didn't feel like quite enough when I was running around, so I'd rather have the 50. When I get the 50 on there, I just felt super good, and I was able to take out, enough people per magazine that I felt like it was worth running. So I went ahead and I've been sticking with this for a while. Now in the rear grip section, we're gonna go ahead and run the commando grip. The reason we got this on here is to increase our ADS speed and sprint to fire speed. I was running the ergonomic grip, but I just felt like the overall gun was a little bit too slow. It didn't have bad statistics for slide to fire, dive to fire, and ADS, but overall, when I threw on the commando foregrip, or the commando grip, my bad, it just really made me feel a lot more agile and allowed me to win some of those gunfights that I thought I was going to lose previously because I wasn't able to pull my gun up or ADS quick enough. Lastly, in the stock section, I'm running the balanced stock. This helps you out with your aim walking movement speed, hip fire movement speed, strafing movement speed, and also if you really don't want to run this attachment specifically, you can go ahead and run the infiltrator stock, which does help with your aim walking movement speed more than the balanced stock will. But keep in mind the balanced stock gives you 4 pros instead of 1. It's just the infiltrator does the 1 a little bit better, of course, than the balanced stock. I prefer the balanced stock. I ran it. I dropped a nice like 40 plus kill game with it. I think overall, if you run this exact setup, you have great success. Now moving into the buffed XM4, this gun got a nice bullet velocity increase. Pretty much a lot of the ARs actually got that. But our first attachment here on this gun is going to be the Kepler Red Dot. This is just one of my favorite ARs, just favorite ARs to use, favorite optics to use on the ARs. If you watch any of my gameplay based videos, you'll know that I just absolutely fry with this no matter what I'm using as an SMG. And normally speaking, go for the XM4, and that probably won't change too much considering this is an absolute banger gun. So Kepler Red Dot is the first attachment. Now in the muzzle section, we're going to go ahead and run the compensator to help with our vertical recoil control. This really hasn't changed from the previous build. We're going to go ahead and stay running this. It just makes sense. So I'd recommend for you guys to go ahead and keep this on there. It just keeps you way more accurate at longer distances. There's no other attachment in here that really helps you at longer distances as much. Some people may say to use the muzzle brake or the ported, but overall the regular compensator does the most because we care about vertical recoil specifically over an extended duration of time, and this helps you the most with that. In the barrel section, we're still not going to be changing this up from our previous build. If you guys were running, of course, the reinforced barrel for increasing damage range and bullet velocity, that's largely the go-to on a lot of our BO6 ARs. The reinforced barrel is the move, and so you guys should be running this 10 times out of 10, 7 days a week. It doesn't really matter when, you should be running the reinforced barrel. There's nothing else that will be better. Now skipping the underbarrel section, going straight to the magazine because we got something that's going to be a little bit better. But we're running extended mag 2 on here to give us that beautiful 60 rounds in the mag, though I have seen other people, especially if they're playing big map BR, run extended mag 3 to have the 100 round drum, which personally is not something that I go ahead and run. I've seen it plenty happening, so it's not something that I want to go ahead and do. I like to be a little bit more agile and mobile, so I will go ahead and run extended mag 2, but you guys are more than welcome to run extended mag 3, which basically choose between the two of those and you will be good to go. Lastly, in the stock slot, we're gonna go ahead and run the buffer weight stock here at the very bottom. This helps the most their vertical and horizontal recoil. That's why we cannot run the vertical foregrip. This actually does more than the vertical foregrip would do to help you out overall. You will lose a little bit of aim walking movement speed and ADS speed, which is not my absolute favorite thing. But if you truly want to be a laser beam over distance, this will be the best attachment for you. If you don't want to go ahead and run this, run your vertical foregrip and the build will be perfectly good at like that. That's what I've ran so many times. It's worked out great, and it should be still be even better after the update. Next up, we're hopping into the Jackal PDW. This is one of my favorite SMGs, and it's basically the #1 SMG to use in Warzone. And this is my personal, like, absolute heater close range build that you guys are gonna love. So first thing on here is gonna be the long barrel. They increase out our damage range, puts you out to about that 14-ish meter mark, which is pretty nice. After that, we're going down here to the underbarrel section, and we're running the Ranger foregrip to help with our horizontal recoil control and, of course, our sprinting movement speed. I really enjoy running the Ranger for that. I have seen some other meta builds where they run just straight up the regular vertical foregrip. That is perfectly acceptable as well. I just want to be a little bit faster, and I find the recoil to be unbelievably manageable. It's very minimal, and at the Ranger using it, it is incredibly easy to use. So I run the Ranger, but you guys are more than welcome to go ahead and run the vertical if you see fit. Now to the magazine section, I don't really think this is something that's as much up for debate. We're running extended mag 2. Gives you 50 rounds in the mag. It is pretty standard to run a bigger magazine on your SMG, especially in Warzone. So I'd say for you guys to go ahead and run this. This makes the absolute most sense. It just works the best. Now in the rear grip section here, we're gonna be using the ergonomic grip. I personally haven't tested out using a lot of these other grips and stuff on this gun, just because the ergonomic grip with this exact build has worked out great, unlike the PP919 where I had those issues. I didn't feel like I was fast enough. I felt the opposite with this. I felt like I've been incredibly fast. So you guys are more than welcome to try out some of these other ones in here, but for this build, the ergonomic grip has worked out beautifully. And lastly, in the stock category, I run the balanced stock here on this gun. You guys kind of know the drill and what this does. Aim walking movement speed, hipfire movement speed, and of course, strafing movement speed. It is just pretty much the best stock you guys can run here, maybe minus the infiltrator if you want to have a little bit of that extra aim walking movement speed. But overall, I think the balanced stock is the way to go. And this is an incredible build for you guys to use. For our last gun here in today's top 5, a new meta SMG, that is the Compact 92. This thing was really not good beforehand. It got a bunch of buffs to its like bullet velocity range, I think some of the recoil control. So This thing is a lot better now. Like, it's probably the number 1, number 2 SMG to use, up there with the Jackal, TP919, and now this. So you guys will be fully taken care of and be able to absolutely delete. But first attachment is the compensator. This gun definitely needs it. It's got the fastest fire rate out of any SMG basically in the game, so you should be using the compensator. Next up, we're going to be using the long barrel on this gun to increase our overall damage range. We can't see the detailed statistics. I'm not sure why they removed it here in the update, but overall the long barrel does help you out quite a bit. And I'd recommend for you guys to go to run this here on the Compact 92. Now in the underbarrel section, we're gonna go ahead and run the Ranger foregrip to help with our horizontal recoil control and our sprinting movement speed. This is another one of those cases where I feel like it's an SMG. I want to be a little bit more mobile, and I'll get more than enough control by running the Ranger, running my compensator. I'll be perfectly good to go with that. And any other recoil, I can basically deal with it, just because this is gonna have such a fast TTK. It'll be more than worth it to be able to move around and slip and slide around very quickly by having a very fast TTK by using this setup. Now in the magazine section, this one's a little bit interesting, is that it actually is something that I recommend to go ahead and run the extended mag 3, just to give you that full 60 rounds in the mag. You could definitely run extended mag 2 if you guys want to be just a little bit faster overall, but because this gun has such a ridiculously fast fire rate, you will be burning through a lot of ammo very quickly. So I recommend for you guys to go for extended mag 3 and get as much ammo in here as possible, because it's got like was it 900 1,000 rounds per minute, so it is pretty ridiculously fast. And last but definitely not least, here on this gun, we are running a rear grip, which is going to be the Commando grip to help with your ADS speed and sprint to fire, just making you overall faster. There's not as much of a reason to run the ergonomic grip on this gun. This does it exactly what we need it to. So we're gonna run the Commando foregrip on here, or Commando grip. I've called it the Commando foregrip a couple of times, said that so many times over the years about previously like Modern Warfare 2019 guns in Warzone. That's a throwback for any guys that remember using that attachment on those. But the Commando grip on here is the move. So this has been my full build. This has been my top 5. If you guys enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe, check out this other video on screen. I'll see you all next time.